informs your tomorrow and which has a connection to your destiny. Welcome to Believer's Voice of Salvation, right here in Accra, Ghana. Today, we are here to digest into one topical issue that always makes us or informs us into our tomorrow, the word decision. Help us to digest into this topic is no other person than the presiding bishop of Ambassadors Church, one charismatic church thriving in the city of Accra, headed by Apostle I.K. Edoh, is my guest. Good evening, wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my set, Daddy.
Thank you so much.
It's
I'm
nice
very
to host
glad
you
being
today.
with you. Very glad being with this interview. God bless you.
God bless you too. Decision is set to inform your tomorrow. Can you help us and to educate the people out there on this platform what decision is all about?
Yes, destiny is best enhanced by good decisions. And decision is a conclusion you arrived at to manage a situation or your life. That conclusion, as you get to that conclusion, there are so many things that must be considered. If you get to a point where you say, this is where I've arrived, this is where the bus stops, then it means that you have made a decision. If you say, this is where the bus stops, you have made a decision. And that controls everything about your life.
So, in a nutshell, decision is a link to your destiny.
Exactly.
There's a school of thought that spiritual aspect has major informed decisions on decision making. And I want you to explain much into it. That is there any link associated to spirituality with destiny?
Definitely. See, we are both physical and spiritual beings. So spirituality can never be divorced from whatever decisions we take. Spirituality is a major key thing, and we need to consider it. Spirituality is a word. It gives you a word view. Now, what is a word view? A word view is how you see things based on where you stand. How you see the things based on where you stand. Now, if I'm a politician and you ask me a question concerning living standard of people, the way I will talk about it is from where I'm standing. But when you ask me as a preacher about the living standard of people, where I'm standing with biblical truth, with biblical positions, I'll be able to tell you something. So your world view is based on your position, is based on where you stand. So if you are a spiritual person, your world view will change. It will be spiritual, and it will inform the type of decisions you take. Now, somebody who is in a different faith, he is in, for instance, another faith altogether, not a Christian, who in that area, they are able to marry as many as they can marry. If you ask them about how many women can a man marry, from where they are standing by their faith, they will tell you the number. But when you come to me as a child of God, as I have my Christian position, I will tell you what my position is. So that is what we call worldview. Worldview is by where you stand. Now, spiritual person takes a decision that a carnal mind cannot understand. The Bible said that the spiritual things are spiritually descended, that carnal mind will never understand. So carnality in somebody who is not spiritual taking a decision is different from somebody who is spiritual taking a decision. These two decisions, they are against each other.
When do you take decision with a bullhorn? As this is the moment, this is the time that I have to make this decision. A scenario or a clear scenario. A young lady who is yearning to marry, or a young man who wants to marry. What are some of the things that will inform him or her to know that this is the time to make this decision? Maybe I want to venture into business. What informs me? What are some of the parameters that informs me in making that decision?
Yeah. Decision is a child of counseling. Decision is a child of information. So if the kind of information you have is limited, don't take a decision. Like a young lady, a young man want to venture into marriage. Before you decide on what to do, you must have an information. A typical story that I learned many years ago. A young lady found a man and they got married. The marriage was expressed. Everything was okay. They got married. And at the honeymoon, because the lady lacked information about the man, the lady did not pray about it, did not get that, did not receive enough counseling about how to get into it. They were in their honeymoon and the young man started misbehaving other way around. Then the lady called the young man's mother. He said, "Mommy, my husband is doing ABCD. I don't understand." The woman said, check whether he has taken his drugs. He said, "Mommy, what drugs are you talking about?" "Oh, he have this depression problem, so he have to be taking drugs." The lady said, "What?" In other words, the lady has married somebody who have a mental condition. But because she lacked information, she took the decision solely and then she's living with it. There are so many marriages today that are bound to crash. They have done so many things. Because why? The two people getting married lack information, lack counseling. So the decision was taken based on fancy. And fancy will not last.
It's becoming much more interesting here in the studio, and I'm enjoying it myself. I know you're also enjoying it wherever you are viewing it live from. But you're also streaming live on Facebook, Ambassadors Church, and you are live on Believer's Voice of Salvation. Daddy, where is decision taken? A friend of mine told me that decisions are taken in church, at work. As a counselor and as a bishop, where is the ideal moment, or what is the ideal time or moment, and where can decisions be taken?
You see, let's look at typical example in the book of Exodus about Moses. When Moses struck the Egyptian, his life was at stake. He could have hidden the whole story, but his own people were ready to expose him, because the next day his own people say, you murdered somebody yesterday and you want to come and murder us. Do you want to murder us? So he realized that there's danger. So what did he do? He quickly took a decision. If I want my life, I have to leave this place. You understand? If I want my life, I have to leave this place. What informed Moses leaving that land? One, he was in the palace. He knew Pharaoh. He knew how Pharaoh can Pharaoh have the power to take life at any time. If Pharaoh want to take your life, he doesn't need a permission. Pharaoh is a god on his own. Whatever he want to do, he will do. So therefore, he realized that Pharaoh also is not a merciful king. So therefore, let me just leave this territory, forget about the whole thing, and go somewhere and be okay. So decisions are taken everywhere. But as I say, what type of information do you have? What counsel do you have? You don't just take decision out of anger. Listen, don't take decision out of anger. You make a mistake. You are angry. Hey, me, the way things are going, hey, you've just taken a decision. No. Sometimes out of anger, you can manage things better. You don't take decisions by limited information about what we are going to deal with. For instance, we are on this set now. When I developed the idea of this, I have to talk to so many people. And one of the very good friend, a brother, and being a minister, I always realize that he's a friend and a son to the ministry. And he's not a small man, he's a lecturer as well, Mr. Bequin. I have to consult him that you are a lecturer, you are a media man. How do we do this? How do we do this thing? Because I want to take a decision. So I sat down with him. We spent almost about 2-3 hours. And he had to lecture me a whole lot of. He said, it is not a matter of taking one point and shoot camera and stand there and say you are doing interview. No. It have to so many things must come into it. So after listening to him, putting all these things together, I arrived at a decision. And that's where we are today.
So, in a nutshell, you're trying to tell me that in decision making, you ought to educate yourself, gather much information before you can decide, before you can say, I'm going left or right.
That's right. That's right. You don't just get up and say, I'm traveling. You don't know where you are going. And now, you say you are traveling. You don't know which type of car to use. Maybe it's a muddy zone. You have a 4-wheel drive, you have a saloon car, you have whatever. You just decide that you wake up one day and say, I'm traveling. Where are you going? I'm going to America. Now, you don't know the weather. If you are not careful, you go to America and there are bad weather. Pneumonia will kill you. So you just decide. You say, I'm going to Russia. I know you have been to Russia. That's where it's cool. That's why I want to bring them. How's the weather there?
Very bad.
Very bad. So if I just get up and go and get ticket and buy, get visa and buy ticket and then wear this dress and sit in the aeroplane and say, I'm going to Russia. Am I going to survive?
No.
So if I want to go to Russia, now you are the best person I have to sit down with. For you to tell me about Russia, for me to decide that though I'm going to go, but this is how I'll go.
I know you're enjoying it, ladies and gentlemen. And one thing that I've learned today is if your decision is limited, don't take the move. And I know you're enjoying it right now, and you're live with us on Facebook on Ambassadors Church platform. Apostle, there is a school of thought that we are all born to be great in terms of finances, in terms of marriage. But as you're educating us today, certain decisions make us arrive or we veer off into our destiny. As a man of God, within a short sentence, what will you say to encourage someone out there that, my darling, this point is where you have to rise up and decide? When do you take that decision? Is it that you have to make sure that everything is scattered before?
No, you see, you are talking about destiny.
Yeah.
Every child, everybody is born with good destiny. It is the set of decisions we take that either enhance it to be better or destroy it. Now, you see, in school, being a lecturer, in school, 75 mark will put you in the A's. Put you in the A's. And then 50 will put you in the pass. So This is how I look at it from. If you are born with a very good destiny, like how we are all born with, and you make 50% of good decisions, you are going to be in a normal life. Whether business, whether marriage, if you make 50% of good decisions, if you're able to make above 70%, you'll be in a comfortable, you'll be among the best. Why am I saying so? I know people who were born from a poor home. They could not even afford their school fees. But beloved, friend, my son, let me be honest with you. Out of good decision, those people has become great people today. And there are some too that were born, their parents were rich, they were sent to best schools. They travel abroad all every now and then. They have become drug addicts. They have become something we cannot. Their life is almost destroyed. What does it mean? It means that the decisions they took destroys the good destiny they have. So your destiny will be enhanced if you take good decisions. And good decisions comes from good counseling. Let me say this quickly. I know you asked me. Let me say this. Then who do we take counseling from? Who do we take counseling from? I have some few people advised not to take a counseling from, depending on the kind of challenge you are facing. Don't take decision from a bitter person, a counselor from a bitter person. Because a bitter person speaks out of his bad experience and do not look at good things in that experience, or does not appreciate where he or she has gone wrong. Now, somebody who has suffered divorce. I know a woman sat in front of me one day. We were doing a counseling, and he said, Pastor, he said, do you know men are fools? And I said, yes, I know, we are fools. Then so no, not you. So I know, man. I understand her, because she's too bitter that she sees men as fools. And such a person, are you sure such a person can come up in any good relationship? No, because already she has made a decision. And if such a person is counseling a young lady in a relationship, that relationship is not going to get anywhere. Are you getting the point? Now, somebody who, out of mistake, get himself duped, hand himself over to some people, and then the person is now counseling, get angry. Don't do business. In business, people they're all devils. They're all this. That person will not be able to give you good counsel. Instead of the person telling you that business is good, but watch it very well. I made mistakes because I should have done A, B, C, D. I lack information. A great man of God said something in this nation. He said he had marital problem because the time he was married, he was immature. And he said both of them were not matured. But I can say that it was lack the information the man have today. If that man were to have that information then, his marriage and the decision would have been better. So are you getting the point?
Yeah.
So decisions are taken everywhere. At workplace, wherever it is. Somebody told me something. He said, Daddy, I want to quit my job. And I said, why do you want to quit your job? He said, no, I have come to that decision. I have to quit the job. And I said, if you quit the job, what are you going to eat? And what is going to happen? He said, I'll look for another one. Hey, are you now going to carry your CV in your ampy, going up and down? Don't you know that there's this that they say is better than none. Half loaf is better than none. So why can't you be on that job and look for another one so that you can migrate from here to here? He said, that one too is good. Oh. So you realize that the counsel I gave have enabled him to quickly think through the decision. When people come to me for counseling, I don't talk, I don't just talk. One of the greatest problems I problems in my ministry works. When you see me sitting down, thinking deep, and confront with one of them, is when I am to advise somebody on what to do. Because my advice will either lead the person right or wrong. So I have to make sure I think it through. That's why there are some people, they say, hey, Daddy, what about the issue we discussed? I say, I'm on it. Because I want to give you the best counsel. And then also, another thing is prophetic ministry. Thou sayest the Lord, it's another bitter. I am very careful.
That's all the day.
Hey, if you are not careful, you say, woe to he that saith God say when God have not said. So I'm very careful. So you see that these two things, he put fear in me. Sometimes when I after counseling somebody, I sit back and I begin to interrogate it. That did I do well? Did I do well? Most of the time, I ask my wife and people after preaching, I ask her, honey, how did he go? And he showed, but I still think through it because somebody is going to use my message. Are you getting it? Somebody is going to use my message to either better his life or destroy his life. So I need to be very careful.
This brings me to a famous hymn that says that Anka SSA mi bisa se adia men ebe Yesu fe. Ladies and gentlemen, there's this question out there somebody is throwing to us. How do you take decision? Is it through prayer? I know counseling is one of them. Is it only through prayer or through counseling alone, or maybe you sitting quietly thinking into what to do?
Yes, it's a process to take a decision. Your world view is very, 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 very powerful when it comes to decision taking. I can give you a counsel. Because your world view is different, you might say yes, but you won't take it. Because this is my position. It is not position I want, so I don't want to argue and discuss it. I don't want to be a politician, and I don't want to be one, because I can't have two world views. You understand the point? So if I ask a question or somebody asks me a question, I give the person an answer based on my worldview, based on what I am in the faith. But the moment I add politics to it, it changes my worldview. So you realize that I become a confused man here and there. Now, the question you ask, I want to give you a clear answer so that my viewers will not be confused. That's why I'm going back to the worldview. How do we take a decision? Godly decision, Christian decision, if you're a Christian. There are certain decisions that you don't need to pray about it. The Bible is very clear on it. It's a clear decision.
You don't cast any doubt on it.
You don't cast any doubt on it. The Bible, in terms of marriage, a man shall leave the wife, shall leave the mother and father and be cleaved to the wife. A wife shall leave the father and the mother and be cleaved. So one man, one wife. That decision is clear. Whether that woman's backside or whatever is better, you can see, or that young man is boasting or whatever, he has a car, whatever he has, let him go. Because the decision is that you have one. You can't take two.
It's a matter of principle.
So if somebody who is not a Christian comes to me and he's asking me about that, if I will tell you that it's one way. The traffic is one way. There's no it does not flow in and out. So that person might not take it. Because the person doesn't have our faith. The person's worldview is different. Now, prayer comes in when your way is not clear. So you pray that God should speak on the matter. Now, matters where it's not clear in the Bible. This is how I advise people to take it. Number one, Check whether what you are going to do will make God proud. Number two, check whether what you are going to do you will be able to stand in front of fellow believers. Check number three, that what you are going to do, what impact will it make on society? Will it divide or unite? So when you do these three checks, you do these three checks, you realize that you want to glorify God. You want to look good. And then also you want to unite. That decision, if it's not good, you will see that it's not good. Are you?
I understand.
I get
Papa,
it.
I do understand.
So you ask prayer. You ask, I said, Bible is a clear cut. If there's no direct direction, you pray. You pray to have clear direction. And then you also go through these three principles. The three principles that I believe that will settle you straight, that this thing, this how it should be, or this is how it shouldn't be.
Viewers, I know you're enjoying the live program here in Believer's Voice of Salvation. Quick one, Daddy. What are some of the consequences of taking bad decisions?
You are good in asking questions. You are good in asking questions. The Lord bless you.
Bless you too,
in
Daddy.
asking good questions. Good decision will make you laugh. Laughter, joy. And bad decision will make you cry. There are some that are crying today not because witches are after them, but because they make a bad decision. You know, bad decision is about what comes out of. A good decision will give you good returns. A bad decision will give you bad returns. So my simple word is that good decision will give you a joy, laughter. A bad decision will give you tears.
What are some of the things that put somebody who has already taken a bad decision and suffering and want to come out of it?
Yeah, there is a way to mitigate the effects. Now, you first of all, you took a decision, lack of information. You have to remedy it with having more information. The thing has already gone bad. You have to go and get more information and more counseling. Bear in mind, the whole world, when they select president, they give him counselors, advisors. You have advisor on health, advisor on this, advisor on that, advisor on this. Why? Because they don't want the president to make bad decisions. Because the bad decisions of the president will make the people suffer. So they give him all kind of, they even give him advice on how to eat.
Wow.
Yes, that's the minister of the advisor on health. He say, Mr. Man, you are becoming too big. Run, exercise, do this, do that, do that. So sometimes they will tell you, his doctor said. So it means that, yeah, so if something have gone wrong, then you need to get an advice. So that they will tell you that it went wrong because of this A, B, C, D you did. So if you want to correct it, you have to do A, B, C, D and correct it. But this is where I have problem with many. The thing is already bad. Then they take insult to correct insult. It does not work. It does not happen. Once it's wrong, sit down, gather more information about how to get out, and you will get out.
So there's salvation for the hopeless.
Salvation. There is always salvation. Our lives, God have already given us salvation.
Wow. Viewers, I know you really enjoyed this session of this program, and I want to, Daddy, what will be your final word or your final statement to close up this interview?
Now, viewers, listen to me. I am speaking to you like a friend, a father, and I'm speaking to you deeply. Don't take decisions if you don't have much information. Don't Don't take decisions if you don't have good counselors. It's not every pastor who is a good counselor. Look for a pastor who can preach proper word of God. It means that the mind of that person is saturated with the word of God. But a pastor who does not know the word, who preaches anything, in other words, that person's mind is not built with the word of God. He cannot counsel you. So therefore, I want to encourage all that take a counsel from people who are good. If it is not biblical and want to take business, go to professionals to ask them and they will tell you. Like I said earlier, I have to ask my good friend, brother, and then in the ministry I'll call him a son, Mr. Bequin. He's a lecturer. I asked him, Mr. Bequin, how do you do this? The other day I was in his house. He lectured me more than 45 minutes. He said, hey, you go this way, go that way, go this way, go that way. Then I took the decision. I'm encouraging you, child of God. Don't just get up from your sleep and dream and say, I'm taking a decision. You by all means step wrongly. And you who have taken wrong decision, look for counseling and it shall be well with you. Out of counseling, in multitude of counseling, there's always safety. And our doors are always open. If you follow me for counseling, why not? I will receive a wisdom and counseling you. God bless you.
Thank you, Daddy, for sharing much of your knowledge with us. Ladies and gentlemen, you still this Ambassadors Church, Believers' Voice of Salvation. All too soon, this is where we draw the curtain to. But until then, stay safe and be a blessing to your society and lead a good life to impact into the world. My name is Edoh, and thanks for having me.